personnel to work on the holidays and on Sundays in particular. So this is mostly a Sunday ordinance to get people to help with community service, about community service. And what we found is that we were unable to find personnel to work on the holidays and on Sundays in particular. So this is mostly a Sunday ordinance to get people to help with community service. We have a lot of folks that are ordered to do community service, but they have a job. So they do it on weekends, so we don't want to lose their job. We know how important that is. So that's most of what it is. As to who these persons will be, Mrs. Blair, we're mindful that if they're county employees, county deputy sheriff, we've got to work within the system. So we'll have to figure out who the appropriate people are to do this work. So it'll mean we envision having a county sheriff, deputy sheriff off duty, being paid so much an hour. I think Beverly, the judge's office, told me they had to sign some kind of a contract, but they would then be paid so much an hour to take the crew out on the highways or whatever project there was after, for example, after Blossom Festival. We had a great time to work Sundays. And that was what we envisioned. We may have to work on that again.
Okay, my problem is that if we use county people for contract, I don't think we can have county employees and county contract employees. And I think we could use auxiliary, we could use city police, we could use, but I don't think we could use county. And I hate that for our officers because I know that those are the ones you need, but we might could use county officers to do the cities people, city officers to do the county's people.
But we might come back to right now, for example, we have an auxiliary deputy who's working for the city, being paid by the city. It's possible that we can come back to you and say, can we pay out of this fund monies to a city entity and have the city then make a payment to whoever, so they would not be being paid by the county, they'd be paid by the city, or whatever entity we come up with. But we're going to have to work on that.
My problem is we need assurance that we're not going to have a wage problem with people that we hire a liability.
I talked to the county judge about that today, and he told me your concerns, and they're well founded. It may not happen for a couple of years, but you have someone make a claim a few years down the road. Well, I actually worked overtime that week. I worked on Sunday. What Mrs. Blair is talking about is avoiding that problem down the road. So we agree with that. We're not going to have anybody doing that until we figure it out. Well, I think we can find enough people at the city for short time or auxiliaries to do it. But I'd really like to see some of those county deputies have an opportunity to make some extra money, if we can do it legally. So we share your concern.
How long will $22,000 last?
Not long. And I told you earlier when I was here that we've got a bunch of unfunded mandates. The governor's office said we're going to do all these new smarter sentencing things, but yet can't do community service. So this is just, we had some money in this account. We consider this to be important. So we said, let's use that money for this purpose, and it'll help our drug court people. And we thought it was, like I said, the cleanest county in the state. So we thought it was a good idea. And it won't, all of this, Mr. Nelson, goes back to how much money as prosecuting attorney can now raise in drug fine money. And so right now I'm trying to get a job rather than sell drugs, rather than send them to prison. So it's one of those, one of those deals. Not long. So a few months anyway.
Should you all wait on getting these monies now until you have something actually in place about towards how you're going to pay your auxiliary deputies or whoever's, is going to be over there, or you just actually needing the funds right now?
We have the money. The money is in an account right now. This before your time, we came in before this Quorum court of a different era, and we devised a mechanism to help the sheriff's buy money fund and help the adult county drug court. And the ordinance which y'all passed this year basically says if $1,000 is collected, then that money will go 1/3 to county general, 1/3 to adult drug court, and 1/3 to sheriff's buy money fund. And it was so that it would be on me as the prosecuting attorney to raise this money. It collected. So right now we have in the treasury apparently $22,000 that we can spend. So that money is appropriate for drug court, so it's not gonna cost the county any money. But in the future, I guess we need to find, the sheriff has told me he will be finding 18-wheeler full of several $1 million, so we'll help that. We need an interstate.
Any other questions? Not roll call?
Ms. Blair? Yes. Ms. Cook? Yes. Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Grant?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Page? Yes. Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Terry? Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Moving on to the next one, entertain a motion. I'll move it.
That's just all it's true. Second.
A motion and second discussion.
Is that gonna be on the table?
Mr. David, can you answer that question?
Yes, I sent a letter to a proposed ordinance to each of the scrap metal dealers, which we have identified as being full. The sheriff went out, found them, talked to them, and I wrote them all a letter and entertained them to come visit with me or the sheriff. One lady called me, and I believe one person came to see the sheriff, and the response I received was favorable in that they thought it was a good idea. And I cannot tell you the number of cases we've had since I first came up here with how much metal is being sold to scrap metal dealers all over the country, which is stolen. You cannot believe it. It's out of control, actually. It's what I think that's what I said in my letter. But the answer, the response is we've not had anyone have any complaint.
Mr. Butler, I know that we need this, I don't question that, but are we just making more paperwork for the honest scrap metal people?
Yes, we are making more paperwork for them. One of the scrap metal dealers already does a lot of this already. And what happened is that scrap metal dealer had, his competitors had an advantage by not having this. And largely the truth of the matter is, this is already the law. It's just that we haven't enforced it.
I know, but what I'm saying is, are the dishonest ones, are they gonna fill out this paperwork? Is it gonna make a difference is what I'm
Yes.
asking?
Yes. We feel very comfortable that we will, because at least we've got a starting point now. If someone goes up there with a big load of scrap metal, at least we've got a vehicle and a VIN number. You can see the tag, and you can see at least a starting place. When you see unusual items, and we think it's going to have a big impact. We know that this came up 100 years ago about the pond dealers. The pond dealers have the same requirement, but they have to log it in and send it down to the police department every day. And yes, it is an inconvenience, but you cannot believe how much merchandise is been recovered. Now, one of the questions that come up does it make a difference? Are people going to start stealing more? The answer is no. They're going to steal anyway. And what happens is if everybody gets in on this, then, for example, the pond dealers, there's a deal called Leads Online. And right now, I had one of the officers show me how much merchandise was pawned at a pawn dealer in Texarkana from Magnolia. And we then knew all this stuff is being taken to Texarkana, and we were able to then identify merchandise as where is it going. If everybody was doing this, in all the counties, it would be, I think it would help us a lot. But Margie, I just cannot begin to tell you, talk to your son about how much stuff is being taken down to local places that's being sold, and we think it'll be a big deterrent. We hope so.
Will they have a pre-printed form online that they can fill out so they'll all look alike? Is that
The goal is to make it as inconvenient for them as possible. We're not trying to put them out of the scrap metal business. We're just trying to put them in the business of reporting to law enforcement who they're buying this merchandise from. For example, to give you a classic example, Perry and Vickers had a bunch of pumps stolen. The value of their pumps and merchandise was well over $50,000. At one of the local scrap metal dealers, we got a picture of that on the truck that took it in. Without that, would never have, and the two people numerous people who stole these pumps were arrested. And a couple of them in jail now, I believe. But anyway, we had to have that, otherwise you wouldn't have a clue. puts the onus on the employees to do it also. Metal dealers are on the same page, level playing field, and helps law enforcement, and we do not think it's unduly burdensome. A little bit at first, because they gotta get a computer. I think the biggest problem will be those who are not computer ones. But there will be some beginning pain, yes.
Well, will the officers periodically check to see if they have things that are not?
If I were one of these scrap metal dealers, I would be wary that some police officer might not be down there trying to pawn something. I mean, sell some metal one day, he may not be, just check him out. So I would be wary about it.
Mr. Butler, I think I asked this the last time you were here, how many other programs exist like this in the state?
We know that there are 3 or 4 other counties that are utilizing this program. The reason I know that is because I looked at the ordinance they had to compare our ordinance to ordinances in other counties. Did not find any other county ordinances contiguous to us, but I did find several more in the state. That's all I can say.
And you said the pond has a similar type requirement, reporting requirement, is theirs also online where you have to have a computer?
I know that every day they keep a log of it and that they fax it to the police department every day. I don't know if it's computerized. The pond dealer ordinance, the statute that was passed, started off before they had computers. And they just hand wrote it out. I assume that they do it by computer now. But this statute that the legislature is, that we've actually, what we have is the legislation is in effect. Most of that Sherry Bill read to you is the law already. The only thing that you're doing today is making it requirement that they transmit this information via computer, and there is a free source available to do that. So there is no cost to the scrap metal dealer to transmit this information online. The only cost will be having to get a computer to set it up.
And then the software will be free?
My understanding is the only thing that's going to cost them is the computer. So we did not want to unduly burden those folks. I asked that question from the get-go. It's called Leads Online. And that's right now, the pond dealers use it and the scrap metal dealers use it where it's utilized. If all the counties got on the same page, we'd all be a lot better off as far as all this merchandise. So there will, but certainly I'm not going to sit there and tell them that they're not going to go on the computer because they're going to have to.
This, digital software, is something that's set up.
Sure, I've talked to one of them about the digital thumbprint. I don't think so. We're not nearly as worried about the digital thumbprint as we are about taking a picture of it. Because that would be helpful. But that's fairly cheap. Because I know that some of the stores around here have to do a digital thumbprint when you cash a check. I think it's pretty. I think that's just that's real. I think that's pretty cheap. I think it's cheap there. The thumbprint.
I can elaborate on that. I own a daycare center in the state of Indiana has mandated that everyone have a thumbprint for us to get paid. And it was absolutely, took a few minutes just to scan that thumbprint and put it in the computer. So that's not a problem at all.
Mr. Butler, is there a less invasive way to be able to enforce or monitor these transactions? I mean, you said within this ordinance, they have to keep their records for a year. Would that put your office out that much more to have to subpoena the records?
That is the law, Graham, that already is the law. The law is, right now, if you're keeping records for you, that's the law. The only thing this court is being asked to do is to make them transmit this information via computer. That's all I'm asking you to do. The law's already there. So right now, if someone was not keeping the records for a year, we could prosecute them, which we don't want to do, of course. So the answer is, they have to do that anyway. Supposed to.
Okay, so how does this make this a much better system since you can already go and get those records? Because what we're doing, we're going into the private sector and making a report to a government agency on a private transaction. And my worry is that, could we already do that? Why is this
you're talking about doing?
Well, you don't, I mean, how many use cases do you have?
All right, what I said to you, that you had read the paper the day after it came up before, two big theft cases the day after it came up here the first time. These are weekly events. Yeah, what I would ask you to consider is the pawn dealer. The pawn dealer goes through no telling how many guns and stolen stuff every week that is stolen. And I cannot imagine a situation where every day which is you subpoena to the pawn dealer every day, tell me everything you got today. That's what you're talking about doing, is what you suggested. What I'm saying is the pawn dealer right now is forced by statute to right now keep a record, just like we're talking about here, of every gun he purchases or pawns every day. And that is then transmitted to the police department. Now, and the scrap metal dealer, every day, he's required to write down and to punch it in a computer, just input the data, to transmit that to the sheriff's department. The difference would be, I guess you're suggesting that if we figure out which data subpoena, or we know who the suspect is, but a lot of times we don't know. It just shows it may not show up for 6 months. It may be that, for example, you've got the abandoned house, the abandoned farm, that no one's minding the store. Just so happens I know a guy in town named Rob Butler. Rob had a big pile of metal out of his land, and that metal disappeared in a 6-month period because nobody was minding the store. And so we wish we could go back and had a record, because I happen to know there was a garage door in that list. If that garage door had been on this, maybe we could have found who stole the metal. And the answer is you don't know. So it could happen over a period of time. What if some unusual items of lighting fixtures or some, any number of things that you could look at, well, it looks like these guys took the scrap metal dealer back in January. Now and it may be, but you don't even know it's stolen. On January, if you go down there and get the list, you may not know it's stolen, but it gives you, I think, a great tool. And what I would say, Mr. Graham, is you lived in my world, in the sheriff's world, and see how much of this is going on, it would shock you. As a matter of fact, each of the scrap metal dealers I wrote a letter to, I said, this problem has gotten out of control. That's what I said. And that's what I believe. And it would be great if we didn't have to inconvenience anybody with any regulatory requirement, but this is one I think needs attention. Any less, your question was, is there any less basic tool that's available? Well, I'm not sure what that would be, to be honest. All we're doing is going to the next step, what is the existing law. And I do not, except for the two problems are, they have to get a computer, and they have to have somebody input the data. That's going to be the inconvenience to the scrap metal dealer. That's what I see. Can you envision anything else other than that? I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
There's problems, but I think another problem is we've got a government entity that's actually monitoring private transactions.
Just like Pondy.
Well, yeah, but, this is,
Sporting goods store,
understand.
gasoline, convenience store,
Right.
all over the place.
Right.
That's
That
part of
don't
it.
have to. You don't have to monitor the gas stations and the
Yeah, they do. They
shops.
come in, do your lottery tickets, they do your cigarette tax. They certainly do.
Like-
The government is in your life,
I
man. That's just the way it is.
I understand. But every transaction, what you're asking us to do is every transaction be electronically reported with a thumbprint and,
No, recorded.
understand,
No, what we're asking, okay, the statute says they're supposed to come down there and photograph the material. Already, that's the law. And the law already says do the digital thumbprint. That's the law. All I'm asking you, this court to do, is to make the scrap metal dealer input the data and transmit the information via computer to the sheriff's office. That's the beast that you need to consider. If you're wanting to rework the law, you got to go to the legislature and get into what the law already is. Because the law already says you got to do the digital thumbprint. The only thing
But
I don't have a problem with it.
But they already have to do something, they already have to do that.
Well, I think that you can do a digital thumbprint agenda here for this is simply reporting, and yes, it's going to be inconvenient for those folks, Mr. Graham, no question about that. But what has happened is, as the price of metal has gone up, the abandoned houses, the air conditioners taken out of windows with people, the churches that are having air conditioning, I mean, I could go on and on about all the scrap metal that's taken. It's, the only way it's gonna fix this is the scrap metal price has to go way down, and then it'll disappear, basically. But right now, that's not what we have. I'm sorry, Dixie. I didn't want to be quoted on that anyway. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, no.
There's no doubt that this ordinance is very lengthy, and in my past life, I've had a lot of dealings with scrap metal transactions. I think we could sit here for hours